Hello, and welcome to CheersToFearYT, where we take horror films and turn them into drinking games. We're your two hosts. I'm Alex.
And I'm Tucker. Today we will be making a drinking game for Midsommar, written and directed by Aster. Aster burst onto the horror scene with his first film, Hereditary, which is considered widely to be one of the best horror movies of the 2010s. Aster was hoping to repeat his success with Midsommar, which started in production right after Hereditary was released.
Midsommar stars Danny, who relies on her boyfriend Christian, who does not seem that supportive, as he would rather just break it off with her instead, as he is emotionally detached from her. Before he can break it off with Danny though, she gets awful news and is emotionally distraught, and now is leaning on Christian to help her more than ever. Christian decides to go to Sweden with his friends to find a thesis paper to write about, and one of those friends, Pele, comes from a small village that is, for a lack of a better word, a cult.
As Danny, Christian, and their group of friends go to the village, they start to learn more about the cult called Harga. Some things about the cult are super intriguing and would be perfect for their thesis paper, while other activities that the cult partake in, the group finds absolutely horrifying.
Just a fair warning, there are spoilers ahead, so if you have not yet watched the movie, feel free to pause the video and watch the movie now, and consider using our drinking rules that will be posted on screen now. If spoilers are not an issue for you, or if you have already seen the movie, then let's continue.
The first rule we have for each drinking game is death. If you see somebody die, you take a drink. In Midsommar, we counted a total of 12 deaths to take a sip towards.
The next rule that we will always have here on CheersToFearYT is that if you hear somebody scream, cry, or yell, you take a sip. For this particular movie, we were expecting quite a few more sips to take for this rule. However, we only ended up taking 17 sips, which is quite low considering the amount that we usually take for most horror movies.
Now moving on to the rules exclusively for Midsommar. Starting with if anybody drinks anything, you drink as well. For this rule, we decided to make a collective drink if there are multiple people in the scene drinking. This means that we only got a low total of 4 sips for this rule.
The fourth rule is that if you spot the yellow hut on screen, you take a drink. The yellow hut appeared 10 times total from our count.
Next, you're supposed to take a sip once you catch somebody explaining something about the cult. If you were to be as attentive as us while watching, you will find yourself enjoying 9 sips from this rule.
This next rule gave us our greatest number of drinks by far with 23 sips. That rule is whenever you hear somebody speaking or singing Swedish, you drink.
Välkommen till Harga. Tack.
Another rule we included in our drinking game today is that if anybody mentions family, you drink. This can be when somebody mentions a family member.
Hey guys, meet my sister Dagny, born on the exact same day as me.
But most times, it will be somebody saying the word family.
Pelle, you know all these people?
These are my family!
With this rule, we counted 10 times that we had to take a sip.
For this rule, you must drink when you hear somebody say Swedish or Sweden. This rule made us drink on 11 instances.
Do they have ticks in Sweden?
Sweden has a tick problem.
To clarify, this is whenever somebody says Swedish and not speaking Swedish, which is the other rule.
If you see somebody partaking in drugs, you must take a drink. That's the next rule we have in place. For the total amount for this rule, we have to drink 15 times.
Our final rule for this drinking game is that you must take a sip when you see artwork. This can include artwork that somebody has drawn, or even in some instances, artwork on the walls inside of the building. By our count, we saw artwork appear on screen 13 times.
And that is it for the rules for the Midsommar drinking game. The total number of drinks for this movie by our count comes to 124 sips, which is the equivalent of drinking just over 4 standard 12-ounce cans. That number is based off of our 30 sip per can scale.
So there were some similarities to this drinking game and the Shining drinking game. For this drinking game, it was a long movie with average drinks, and that happened to be the exact same case with The Shining.
Yeah. The only thing that's different from this movie to The Shining is the pacing of the drinks. In some scenes, they were just clumped all together, like there was deaths, people saying Sweden, doing drugs all at once.
Yelling,
And then there was kind of long spans where nothing would happen. Whereas The Shining, it was kind of paced evenly throughout.
Yeah.
This one kind of had clumps together.
So on to talking points for the movie. I guess the main thing revolves around the relationship of Danny and Christian. So for instance, Christian is completely emotionally unavailable for Danny the entire movie.
Yeah.
She's always coming to him about her problems, and he always acts super cold towards them, and he tries to pretend that he's caring, but you as the audience really doesn't believe it.
Oh yeah, definitely not. They make it very clear that he's not invested in that relationship, really.
Yeah. And like one example of this is you don't even see them kiss throughout the entire movie, despite them being a couple.
Yeah, that's true. Another thing is clearly Christian's super manipulative. He makes Danny think that she's the bad guy for questioning Christian in instances such as him going to Sweden without telling her. And not only going to Sweden without telling her, but doing it when she's clearly an emotional wreck because of her family just died.
Yeah.
Like, he clearly just has other priorities other than Danny.
I guess another moment where you see that he's really manipulative is when he tells Josh that he's making a thesis paper about the cults. And so, for example, Josh was working really hard this entire trip, really learning about the community and everything like that. He was very open about wanting to kind of do this as his paper. But then Christian swoops in and says, yeah, I'm going to be working on this. And he just blacks out on him, which I feel like is very fitting because this is the way that he is.
Oh, yeah.
This is how Danny should have been throughout the entire movie.
I feel like the reason Danny doesn't stand up for herself in this, like, with Christian, is because she needs someone to lean on in this time of her life because of what she's going through. And if she kind of stands up for herself, Christian's just going to walk away because I feel like he wants to already. He just feels guilty if he does because of what's happening.
Yeah, she just fears that he will walk away.
Exactly. And she doesn't want to lose another person in her life, so that's probably why she doesn't stand up for herself and kind of just puts up with it.
Yeah. So another thing is other people treat Danny better that don't even know her. So one example is one scene where she's tripping balls after doing mushrooms. The guy that she just met, I forgot what his name is. Ingmar. He sees Danny, he's like, hey, come hang out with us. Come join me and my friends. She's like, oh no, I'm fine. And just completely ignores him. But it's people that want to spend time with her. For example, he wanted to spend time with her when Christian just kind of let her walk away. And they said they found her in the field like the next day, basically.
And another thing that Christian just kind of improves he's a bad boyfriend is he doesn't remember their anniversary.
Oh, jeez.
Just over 3.5 years?
4 years.
No. Really?
Yeah, 4 years and 2 weeks.
He doesn't remember Danny's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Oh my gosh, Pele. Christian forgot anyway.
So he doesn't remember these important dates that any boyfriend, any good boyfriend I should say, would remember. Even Pele remembers these things and he gives Danny a birthday present before Christian ever does.
Well, Pele tells Christian.
I know. And like it just makes him look so bad, which deservedly so.
Thankfully, he does end up dying with the good old Nicolas Cage treatment. Gets shoved in a bear suit and lit on fire by a cult. Ends in the exact same way.
So one thing I feel like they do really well in this movie is proving that cults can take control of vulnerable people, such as with Danny. She lost her family and they're basically presenting her with a brand new family that's completely welcoming and like will kind of go out of their way to be a supportive family to her. And like they're all emotionally available for her when Christian clearly isn't. Even though Christian's all she has left, this cult is kind of opening themselves up to her to kind of be her emotional support. And they do a really good job of showing that and showing how cults in the real world would be the exact same way. Like anybody needs some support, they'll get it from all these people that are taking part in the cult.
It seems like such a good thing because she's getting the support she needs, like they're crying with her when she needs it. But at the same time, they're horrible people because they're basically just killing off others.
Well, and I guess that's kind of just, that's their tradition with that cult. And clearly it's not right, but everybody just thinks it is because of, they're manipulating as well. Christian's not the only one manipulating. The cult is clearly manipulative. But they are at least emotionally available. So they're a little more supportive than Christian.
They basically drug Christian and make her sleep with that other girl. I think Maya's her name. And then that's the breaking point for Danny. But they probably planned it like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like Christian obviously was a terrible boyfriend, but the cult saw that and they basically exacerbated it and made it 10 times worse than it had to be.
Yeah.
Because they put Maya in front of Christian and made her... she wanted him in so many ways.
Yeah.
And they made it clear that that was their goal and their intention was to kind of get them apart and, you know, have more of a toll on Danny when she sees stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was all intentional and for a reason.
You know, I think my sister Maya is taking a liking to you.
Yeah?
So another straight up terrible thing that the cult does is their members bring people into the community basically just to kill them.
Yeah.
They knew they were going to kill them and they kind of knew who they were going to kill and they kind of had motive for it as well. For example, with Pele, which he saw the way that the friend group treated Danny and how they were so cold towards her. Christian was super cold and not understanding her emotions. And this likely angered Pele since his community greatly supported trying to feel other people's emotions and be empathetic.
Yep.
I feel like Danny was probably planned to join the community since I feel like Pele liked her.
Yeah.
And he remembers her birthday. He kisses her. And then they're trying to talk about death of her family. And he's very apologetic, or not apologetic, but he's empathetic to her and understands the pain that she's going through. And he's basically the first person that said sorry about Danny's loss.
Also, I never had the chance to tell you, but I was so very sorry to hear about your loss.
Oh.
What happened? I mean, I can't even imagine.
And the reason he was so empathetic for that situation is because his parents also died in a fire when he was young.
I mean, I lost my parents too, so I kind of have some idea.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm gonna just go to the bathroom. Thank you.
Or so he says. They probably just died in the cult or something.
Yeah.
but-
which brings us to the other points for that. Like, his parents, from what I gather, or I guess what can be assumed, is his parents died in, like, a very similar ritual for that.
Well,
because
yeah.
people were sacrificed from their cult, like you could see the other two from before. I think one of them was actually Ingmar and one of their other friends.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to see that his parents probably did the exact same thing and he was raised by the community.
Yeah. And that's just a subtle thing that you might not even catch it, but I guarantee that's the exact way that they died.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many little things in this movie that you might not catch unless you rewatch it several times.
Yeah. I guess continuing on with the point of Pele, apparently he's the one that killed Josh, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I guess another interesting friend death is in the beginning the kids were playing a game called Skin the Fool.
What were the kids playing?
Skin the fool.
Skin the fool.
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, Mark was skinned and he was also wearing a jester's hat. So I feel like that's kind of a clever thing that they do in the cult.
So we kind of mentioned it before, how there are some very subtle things in this movie that you may not notice, especially the first time watching it. And that just goes to show that small things are super important. For example, the scriptures at the start of them entering into the community, it explains how Maya would try to seduce Christian.
Mm-hmm.
The first time we watched it, you pointed out how Christian's juice looked a bit more orange than everybody else's.
Instead of like yellow, like
Yeah.
lemonade.
Yeah, exactly. And we also noticed that there was a leaf or something under Christian's meat pie, and there was no such indicator on anybody else's.
Yeah,
so
so-
that was kind of fishy or whatever.
Yeah, it was just probably a mark to indicate which one was intended for Christian.
Yeah, exactly. So little things just like that is stuff you have to look out for when you're watching this movie.
Yeah.
Because honestly, there's so many of them, and we can't even go through all of them.
Yeah.
Just because there is so many. If you do a bit of research, you'll find it, and it's pretty interesting to see them.
Yeah. So I guess some more like tiny points to sum up a few more things. Like, it's a horror movie that takes place in the daytime.
Yeah, which isn't that common to see, really. But it's a good thing to see it sometimes.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like it a lot.
Yeah. Also, the set design was great. All the hand-drawn things in the lodge, everything on the building themselves, like, it was just so miraculously done.
Oh yeah, everything looked super good. And like, on top of the set design, all the acting was good as well. Like, all the characters were played so well. The people we were intended to hate, like Christian, we hated him.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, on top of that, you kind of felt sorry for him in certain scenes just because of what he was going through and how much pain that would cause, and just like the torment that you see on his face. But like every single character in this movie, I felt like did a good job. Even the side characters, like you might not remember their names or whatever, but they serve their purpose.
Yeah. So overall thoughts on the film?
Personally, I love this movie. I like it better than Hereditary. That's just my take.
Oh yeah.
I know a lot of people like Hereditary a lot more, but in my opinion, this is one of my favorite modern horror movies, to be honest. It's just such a breath of fresh air. Like, I haven't seen anything done quite like it in so many ways.
Yeah.
Daytime horror, the bright sun the entire time, and the movie in general just brings a lot of new things to the table, like those little things that we mentioned.
Yeah.
And because of those little things that you don't watch or you don't notice the first time or the second time, it makes this movie so rewatchable, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
And you're always going to find something new that you didn't see before.
Yeah, this movie definitely takes a step above a lot of other modern horror movies, I'd say. But the main thing is it's so hard to replicate. Like, who would think of wanting to replicate a horror movie that's made in the daytime? It's so unique, and I love that concept.
Yeah. Well, and another thing is I actually, like, Midsommar is a real tradition in Sweden, and the fact that they used, like, a real tradition like that and made it, included these cult-like activities and stuff, it was just, it's horrific because it's believable.
Yeah.
And that's why I love it, to be honest.
And finally, we come to the award ceremony, where we award one not-so-lucky nominee, the Darwin Award. This award goes out to a character who made a stupid decision that resulted in them getting killed, somebody else getting killed, or simply resulting in something bad happening that could have been easily avoided. This award can also be given to a character that is just plain dumb. Here are the nominees.
Today's first nominee is Mark, for peeing on the ancestral tree. I don't know why he thought that in a pretty open spot in the middle of a field was a good place to pee, but this idiotic decision ended up costing him his life.
Our next nominee is Josh, for attempting to take pictures of the cult's holy book, which resulted in his death.
Our final nominee today is Christian, for treating his girlfriend like complete shit and not expecting anything bad to happen to him in return. If he just broke up with her instead of stringing her along for so many months, maybe he would still be alive. And the winner is Mark, for treating this new foreign area like his own personal bathroom.
I just had to pee. I didn't know it was special.
We're not surprised at all that somebody who marks their territory like a dog in the middle of a field wins the Darwin Award today.
And with that being said, we hope you enjoyed our look into Midsommar. If you end up playing the game alongside the movie, or if you have any other feedback or suggestions, let us know in the comments below. Also, let us know in the comments what your favorite scene from the movie is.
Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next week's episode, where we are going to be moving on to a new series for the month of October. If you want to check out our most recent video, click on the box on the top right. Or if you want to see a playlist of all the drinking games we've made, click on the box below it. Thanks for tuning in, and this is us saying, cheers to fears.